Now in this video, we're going to start the exciting stuff. We're going to start working with formulas and functions. So first of all, a definition. A function is provided to us by Excel to help us write formulas. A formula usually needs a function. There are exceptions, like for instance, with the one we did last time, A plus B equals C. We're not really using any functions. Now, if we go back to this tab, there is a function library here. So that's all the functions that we have. I think there's around 400 functions that Excel has. So it's a little bit overwhelming. But once we know how to use one and we know how to find the others, it gets all downhill. It gets all very easy. So as usual, I'd like to start with an example. So let's say that we want to write a budget, a monthly budget for our home. So we write a few items here. So we had food, car, clothes, and just utilities. So just to give you an idea. So and then we input the value for the month. Monthly cost, say, so we have food, let's say we have 500, car 200, clothes 200, and utilities we have 100. So what we want to do is we want to calculate the total monthly expense. So we are on monthly here. So I use this to make the cell a little bit wider. So in order to do this, there are three ways. We are mostly interested in the last way, but I just wanted to show you the other way, so there's a bit of a nice follow-up on our previous video. So the first way is just to add them one by one, like we did. So we put the equal, and then we go there, and then we put plus, and then we go to the second one, and we put plus, and when we go to the third one, and we put plus, etc. And then when we reach the last one, we press enter. So that gives us the total. So this is one method. It's a little bit tedious because in general, the numbers that we want to add in Excel are contiguous. It'd be nice if we had a way to group all this, but we'll see that later on. So the second method is to use the function. Actually, the two last methods will be to use a function, but we will be using it differently, if you like. The function name is sum. So here I write equal, I write the function name, and then I open the brackets, because usually when we have a function, we have to give it some parameters. So here, Excel is asking me, what do you want to add? What do you want to sum? And then what we can do is we can go with our mouse or with our cursor. We go to the first one, and then it looks like it wants us to put a comma after each number. And then put a comma, we put the second one, put a comma, we put the third one, we put a comma, and we put the last one. And after, it looks like it wants us to close the bracket. So let's just close the brackets. And then what do? I press enter. Oh, it's good. We have the same result. We have performed our first formula using Excel function. So here, this is the formula tab that I mentioned in the presentation. Your formula is here, but when you double click on this, you can also see it here with a nice color coded to tell you which one you are adding. So something to know about formulas is, as they are represented here, you can go here and type things directly into this small window here. But what's more interesting is you can go to this symbol here, and you click on it, and all the arguments of the function are showing very nicely here. And when I click on the last one, it is asking me, do you have another number that you would like to add? If you click on that field here, then you can go back and say, I want to have this one as well. I'll be removing this one. So it's usually very useful to click on this symbol here. That gives you a better view of the function that you're using. I talked very briefly of the help tab here last time. But what I found the most useful in a help function is, let's say you are working with this function here and you're not really sure how it works. It gives you an example to start with, so that's very useful. It gives you a little summary. It gives you some text here. But also, if you click help on this function here, it takes you to a Microsoft website that is dedicated to this function. So that is very useful. So I have it coming up now. it can be quite useful, and this looks like that. Okay, so we have done the first using plus plus plus, this one using our first function. But as the cells here are contiguous, there is a faster way to do it. Before I get started, I need to give you a bit of a definition of an Excel range. A range is a group of cells that is more or less contiguous, so that will always look like a rectangle or a square. Like for instance, this is a range because those cells are contiguous. But say if I had some other numbers here, I could call this a range as well. So there's 2 dimensions to that range here. I'm going to keep to this range here. So this is the range. And what you can do with functions, you can use ranges instead of using individual cells. So for instance, here I can say I want to do the sum. Open the bracket. And after with my mouse, I go to the first item that I want to add, and I drag it down up until the last item that I want to add. And then I close the bracket, and it's done. So this is the way you use functions. Usually you have ranges. Either you pick up one individual cell, group of cells, or you pick up a range. I would like to show you another function, and then we can have a look at formatting, because surely we can have that look a little bit better. The other function that I would like to show you, it's like a logical function. It's an if function that is well known from developers over there. So let's say that I want to calculate, let's say you are splitting the monthly cost with someone else, but not all of them. So here you would say share the cost. And the food, yes, you split it, let's say, but the car, you don't split it because let's say you're the only one using the car. The clothes, you don't split it because you buy your own clothes. And the utilities, yes, you are splitting it. So I'm just going to, just force of habit, I just need to see things in the center. We'll see how we do that later on. And let's say that I want to calculate then cost per person. So what we have here, as we are sharing the cost of food, we would like to divide this per 2. So the food, let's say, and I put equal, and now the function is called if. You open the bracket, and then instead of pressing this, I'm just going to access the cells directly. So if this field, and I click on it with the mouse, is equal to yes, then I divide this number by 2. So if the cost is shared, then I just need to pay half of this because we are splitting the cost. And therefore, I calculate half only. I put another comma, which means if this it means the opposite. If if the shared cost is not yes, then I leave this field here. I leave F6. So let's have a look. If the shared cost is yes, I divide per 2. And if it's false, then I leave it as is. So here, in this case, I divide per 2. So if I copy that cell, and I paste it here, I paste it here, and I paste it here. And now let's have a look if it worked. So car, I said the shared is not cost, so it keeps the same amount. It keeps F7. Then also keeps F8, and then it does divide per 2 because it's shared cost. So if I do the total here, so what I can do is I can copy that field here, and I can paste it here. The reason why I can do this is that when you copy this cell here, look here, it's FFF, which is that column here, it follows. And here it replaces everything automatically with H. So there are ways that you can keep calculating that column. But for the time being, we'll just assume that it will follow the column as you move the cell. So 1000 here, it's down to 700. And obviously, you can do the same with this function and this function. But actually, I'm going to copy both at the same time, and I'm just going to put them here. So what I suggest we do now, we remove those two here, because this was just to show you as a link with our previous video. So if I copy those fields here, and I paste them here because I want to have them neatly under, it gives me 0. Why? Because here I was adding 6 to 9. But now I'm adding 2 to 5. And that's because I copied and paste. And when I copy and paste, it moves the row width. So instead, I just need to cut. If I cut and I paste, it keeps the same numbers here, 6 to 9. All right. So this is it. So we've already learned two functions. One with the sum, which is a calculation math function. I think you will find it around math, maybe. Sum, yes, math. The math function will be under math and trig here, sum. And then the logical function, which is if, which you will find here. So that's it. So next step is to format this a little bit, to make it look a little bit better.